it's a great, great morning. Your first day in heaven when you realize your worried days aren't through. You'll be glad you were not idle. Took time to read the Bible. It's a great, great morning for you.
B-I-B-L-E, yes, that's the book for me. I stand alone on the word of God, the B-I-B-L-E.
The B-I-B-L-E, Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth. Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth. Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth.
And now, here's our presenter, Gabriel Savant.
Hello, everybody. Good to be with you. Thanks for dialing in to your channel for Present Truth Bible Teaching. In this capsulized edition of the B-I-B-L-E, Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth, rest assured, you will hear incontrovertibly, you will hear the answer to the $64 million question. That question again, why was Jesus' death at Calvary to save fallen man from eternal condemnation and destruction, the only acceptable sacrifice unto God? Key word there is why. Now, over the course of time, I suspect that you, like so many of the rest of us, have heard numerous attempts by preachers, maybe even some sky pilots or theologians, along with laymen, everyday laymen who are well-meaning, as they try to give you some brilliant answer to the $64 million question. But chances are, you probably walked away unconvinced and unsatisfied with their answer. It somehow just didn't ring true with you, right? As so often their explanations about this question are sort of like being several noodles short of chow mein. I'll tell you, I've heard a slew of answers they give as they pontificate or speculate why Jesus was chosen by his father Abba to be crucified on the cross, lest all men perish. I've heard everything from, well, so God could show he loved the world so much, or because he wanted to prove the loyalty of his son. One pastor I heard said to even test the loyalty of Jesus. You know, none of their theories about the $64 million question did it for me. One TV pastor I heard, he postulated that only Jesus' death could suffice because he is sinless. But hold the phone a second. The angels in heaven that were not part of the 1/3 of the fallen angels that chose to follow Satan and to desert Jehovah, they are sinless. They're sinless. In fact, Ellen G. White said something about this very aspect of the conversation that is astonishing. In early writings in 1858, that's right, 1858, she recorded a profound vision she had been given from the Lord. She said, quote, "Said the angel to me, think ye that the Father yielded up his dearly beloved Son without a struggle? No, no. It was even a struggle with the God of heaven whether to even let guilty man perish or to give his beloved Son to die for him. Angels were so interested for man's salvation that there could be found among them those who would yield their glory and give their life for perishing mankind. But, said my accompanying angel, that would avail nothing. The transgression was so great that an angel's life would not pay the debt. Nothing but the death and intercessions of his Son would pay the debt and save lost man from hopeless sorrow and misery." End quote. So, I'll cut straight to the chase. Here, right here, is the genuine, bona fide reason that Jesus' substitutionary death at Calvary for you and for me was the only one that could be accepted in Jehovah's economy. And by the way, it's the only answer to the question that clicked when all the dots finally connected for me. It's found in Patriarchs and Prophets that Ellen White wrote in 1890. Listen to this. Quote, "The fall of man filled all heaven with sorrow. The Son of God, heaven's glorious commander, was touched with pity for the fallen race. His heart was moved with infinite compassion as the woes of the lost world rose up before him. But divine love had conceived a plan whereby man might be redeemed. The broken law of God demanded the life of the sinner. In all the universe, there was but one who could, in behalf of man, satisfy its claims. Here's the answer. Here's the answer to the $64 million question right here. She adds, quote, since the divine law is as sacred as God himself, only one equal with God could make atonement for its transgression. Isn't that amazing? That's it. She goes on to say, none but Christ could redeem fallen man from the curse of the law and bring him again into harmony with heaven, end quote. That's the only answer to the $64 million question that is sensible, believable, and most of all, biblical. And what Ellen White said about it is what we should desire most of all, that which is biblically sound. Not all that hype, hullabaloo, and all that hooey that masquerades as the truth that's so prevalent out there these days. But what she said right there, one more time, let's look at it. Since the divine law of God is as sacred as God himself, only one equal with God could make atonement for its transgression. That's why even the sinless angels of heaven, those who've stayed loyal to God, could not qualify to die in man's stead. Only Christ could do that, because only Christ is equal with God, and God is as sacred as his law, and vice versa. That's your answer right there. Acts 2:17 says in the New King James Version, and it shall come to pass in the last days, says God, that I will pour out my spirit on all flesh. Your sons and your daughters shall prophesy. Friend, I submit that Ellen G. White was one of those daughters that both the prophet Joel and the gospel author Luke had in mind, as she in fact prophesied in marvelous ways. Ellen G. White, November 26, 1827 to July 16, 1915, was one of the founders of the Seventh-day Adventist movement, lecturer, and counselor to the church, who possessed what Seventh-day Adventists have accepted as the prophetic gift, the gift of prophecy described in the Bible. She was also a prolific writer. Her book, Steps to Christ, written in 1892, has been translated into, get this, 164 different languages. Matter of fact, Ellen G. White is the most translated female nonfiction author in the history of literature, as well as the most translated American nonfiction author, male or female. She's considered a leading figure in American vegetarian history. She was promoting the health benefits of a plant-based diet long before being a vegetarian or vegan was cool. Incredibly, she touted the advantages of being a vegetarian. Back in the 1860s, she was writing about that, for crying out loud. It was unheard of then. And as you might imagine, she was called wacky by many in her day for even suggesting such a thing as going meatless. But history has certainly proven that what she said about it wasn't malarkey after all. On average, SDA lived 10 years longer than the rest of the population, and do so on average in better overall health, says a plethora of independent studies for decades now, not SDA publications, but independent studies. For example, National Geographic years ago shined the spotlight on the impressive longevity or adherence of the SDA diet and lifestyle. Incidentally, the Smithsonian Magazine, a very sophisticated publication, named Ellen G. White among the 100 most influential and significant Americans of all time. Please keep in mind our outreach here that's providing meals to people who are facing food insecurity in Bukidnon province of the Philippines. You can email us at thebiblestandstall@yahoo.com, all one word, lowercase. Connect with us about the said ministry or share any comments or questions you might have, whatever's on your heart. We certainly welcome your input. Thanks for listening and for telling others about this channel. My installments are a production of Abba's Messengers SDA, an independent supported ministry. Until next time, this is Gabriel Savant reminding you, a Bible in the hand beats two in the bookcase.
Bible, yes, that's the book for me. I stand alone on the word of God, the Bible.
The Bible, Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth. Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth. Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth.